Hello, everyone, and welcome back. This is the Echols Unlimited podcast. I'm your host, Terrence Echols. And before I get into what I'm talking about today, I would just like to please ask that you subscribe to the podcast. Subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, no matter what you're listening on. Please subscribe. Please like the video. Please give the podcast 5 stars. I'd really appreciate it. It would really help out with growing this podcast into what I know it's going to be one day. So this past weekend, I graduated. I graduated from college. I am officially done with my bachelor's degree. I've already started on to my master's degree, and it has been one of the weirdest experiences of my life. It has been so weird because it's hard to be so reflective and to understand, like, I'm done. I don't have to go to school anymore. I literally am done. I've reached this level that most Americans stop at. I've reached the level of a bachelor's degree where, a lot of people are done with school. They're done with the whole school thing, and me being a kid growing up, I wasn't a real big fan of school. I didn't really enjoy going. I didn't really enjoy the whole aspect of learning and having to memorize things. I'm still not very good at memorizing things, but I've made it. I've made it this far in my life, so I'm going to keep going and see how far I can go with this. But after graduating a few days ago, I've returned home to where I grew up, and I've had time to talk about and focus and reflect on what happened during my years in college. And what I can say is that I learned so much about myself. I learned so much about other people. I learned so much about the Hudson Valley, which is where I went to school. And I just learned so much. And a lot of that didn't take place in a classroom. I mean, COVID definitely had a part in that because of the fact that I wasn't in a classroom very much in the past year and a quarter. But a lot of the stuff that I learned in college was about myself and just about people in general. And even little things about how to fix a car, little things about how to do this, how to do that. Like it's amazing what the college experience can teach you. And so with me just recently graduating, I figured it would be a good idea to talk about some of my experiences and to share some knowledge and to share some of the things that I think can help the next generation of college students as well as current college students who are currently going through what I just went through. So in that, I'm going to give my top 5 most important lessons I learned in college. All right, so I'm going to start off with number 5. Number 5 is something that is very near and dear to my heart. It's something that I practiced in every single class I had. I always sat towards the front, either in the front or first or second row. I went to a small school, so it was easy for the professors to learn my name, know who I was. I think that doing that is probably a great advantage in having a personal relationship with each of your professors. It's because in case you have to come to them for anything, and I'm pretty sure people hear this all the time, but one thing that I'm sure a lot of people don't really hear very often is write your notes down on a piece of paper. Take a pen, take a notebook to every class. All you need is 5 notebooks or 5, different places where you can put your notes for each class. Write your notes down. Please. Take a piece of paper, just get 5 different notebooks or 5 things that you can write for each class or however many classes you're taking. Just write your notes down. I understand it if you have, certain handicaps or things of that nature that make you have to type your notes out on a piece of paper or on your laptop. But writing my notes down was definitely one of the biggest advantages I gave myself to my classmates because it forced me to pay attention in class to what the professor was writing on the board. It forced me to focus on just writing my notes and writing my notes only. It didn't allow me to take out my phone or to be on my laptop texting, because we all know if you have the Mac laptop and you have an iPhone, it's easy to text during class and go on Instagram and Twitter and all that and talk to people. And now, granted, I did do that a few times this past semester. I mean, I was a second semester senior. What do you expect? But for the most part, I wrote down all my notes on a piece of paper with a pen and pad. So something else that is also very beneficial from writing your notes down is that you have a written, you can write down verbatim like everything that is written on the board or in the slides. Like if you have a professor who's very accommodating, be sure to reach out to them and ask them, hey, can I have a copy of the slides? If they don't post the slides on their website, most of them do. Just make sure that you have an extra copy of the slides in case you miss something that the professor wrote down during the class. Just always be on top of your notes and to be engaged with a professor. They really appreciate that. They really enjoy that sort of engagement. If a professor's up at the front of the room putting a lot of their effort and energy into teaching everyone in the class something, I think that being able to engage with them and talk to them and to know what the professor's writing down while they're writing it down is a great thing to do, because they're going to feel like people acknowledge them and that they enjoy what the content that they're teaching. So I definitely would highly recommend that you write your notes down physically on a piece of paper. So my number 4 on the top 5 things that I learned in college, please don't waste your time on a major you don't like. Wasting time in majors, and not only are you wasting your time by being in a major that you don't like, you're wasting your money, whether it's your money, your parents' money, your grandparents' money, if they set up a fund for you or something like that. Like, it doesn't matter. It's wasting the school's money if you're on a scholarship or whatnot. You're wasting your time. You're wasting people's money if you're not fully engaged in the major that you are working on. In my own personal experience, I didn't know what I wanted to major in. I first thought that I was going to be a broadcast journalist. I first thought that I was going to be involved in sports communications and stuff like that. And then I realized my first weekend on campus that I didn't enjoy it. I had my first experience in it. I got very active in one of the clubs that we had on campus, and I didn't enjoy it. It wasn't fun. So I took my time. I found something I really enjoyed, and now I'm super happy to have that as my major. I was super happy to earn my degree in advertising and public relations, and now to pursue a degree in integrated marketing communications, which is very closely related to both advertising and public relations. So I'm super grateful for that. I'm super grateful for all the people who helped me come up with this decision, because it wasn't an easy decision. You know, it's what you're going to do for the next 30 to 40 years of your life. So it's definitely something that is so important and that you should really cherish and understand that your major could have a make or break on the rest of your life. It could lead to more happiness in your life, or it could lead to more sadness. It could lead you down the road to a job that you don't like, you know? And at the end of the day, it's your life. It's the money that people have put into you. It's your money that you're spending on yourself, if that's what you're doing with your college money. But at the end of the day, take care of yourself and understand that being in a major that you don't enjoy is not going to work out. Like, if you're doing it for the money, don't do it for the money. If you're doing it because it's fun, then do it because it's fun. Do it because you enjoy it. Do it because you can see yourself doing it for the next 30 to 40 years of your life. So, well, and in that, and not only is it important to, be in a major that you really enjoy, but also you should get experience in the job-like setting. So if you have a professor who's putting you in situations where you might be in as a researcher, if you're a biology major, or if you're conducting experiments and stuff in chemistry or something like that, if you're a writer and the professor is looking at your stuff and proofreading it and doing all that with your content, definitely take advantage of that. Take advantage of all of the simulated or mock or even the real job, real world professional experiences that you can have, because you never know what's going to happen once you get into the real world. And if you have a good idea of it, if you have good background in what you've been taught in college, then definitely take advantage of that. I can't stress that enough. get job-like experience, work internships. The classes aren't going to be enough. I mean, it depends on the class. It depends on the type of content that a professor is teaching you. But if it's the traditional setting where a professor is getting content from a textbook and teaching that to you, and you are supposed to recollect that information and retain that information and then use it in the form of a test or something, I mean, I just don't think that's enough. I think you need to be put through the ringer in terms of understanding what, if you're working at an agency or if you're working, in any type of situation. I mean, it's hard to just pinpoint because there's so many different jobs, there's so many different industries out there. But definitely take advantage of any real world like experiences. Number 3 on my list of things that I learned in college that I really think the next generation should take advantage of is don't feel obligated to participate in the party culture. Okay? A lot of times people look at college and they think it's synonymous with partying. If you're not a party person, if you don't have genuine fun partying, drinking, doing whatever drugs you want. I mean, I'm not going to judge or say any of that stuff is wrong. I just understand the consequences that come with that. There are so many consequences that can come with being a part of that culture, especially if you're underage for your first couple of years of college. Like, that just is a whole nother issue in itself. Having to get, the different resources that you need in order to participate in that culture at an underage level. It's going to be hard. But I definitely think, like, if you truly do not enjoy that environment, do not participate. It can only lead to negative outcomes. I've seen so many friends and family members and other people who have been a part of that culture and gotten caught up in that culture, and it's led to negative consequences. Another thing is the hookup culture. Don't be so quick to get into that. Like, if you're into, establishing a genuine relationship with someone, don't participate in the hookup culture either. That's not important either. I in my experience in college, there's always going to be people out there. There's always going to be those who align themselves with you, who have similar beliefs. Not always, you're not going to find someone who has the exact same belief as you in everything. But you're going to find people who, if you don't like to go out and you don't like to party, you're going to find people who also do like to go out, don't like to party, don't do all these crazy stuff. Like, you're going to be able to find friends in environments that aren't as dangerous or as consequential as the party environments. And that's just the truth. I mean, if you really enjoy it, go ahead, do it. You're in college, have fun. You're young, be smart, be responsible, and understand the consequences. That's all I have to say on that. But just please take care of yourself and understand there's going to be people out there. Don't lose faith. There's going to be people out there. And my number 2 rule, which is probably my favorite rule, if I'm really thinking about it, is to be kind to all the people who make your college experience your college experience. And what I mean by that is, like, be kind to the janitors, be kind to the custodians, the RAs. Like, don't just be kind to your professors, and the deans. And if you're on a sports team, don't just be kind to your coaches and, the different people, and your athletic director and all that. Like, be kind to them, be nice, be respectful. But I find it that you want to be extra kind to the people who are going the extra mile for you to make your college experience great. That's the landscaping people, that's the janitors, that's the custodians, that's the security guards, like, especially them, because they're keeping you safe. Like, it's everyone who works in the cafeteria, if you go to the lunchroom at the store, like the bookstore, or if you go to, like, a local restaurant or whatnot on campus. Like, be kind to those people, treat them well. Like, you never know when you're going to need them. You're never going to know when you're going to need a favor. And if they have a positive impression of you, if they have that original positive impression, they're going to, go that extra mile for you and maybe possibly do you a favor. Like, say you don't have your swipe card on campus and you're really hungry, you need some food. They might be able to hook you up. Say you might need a security guard to help you out, to do whatever you need. Like, they're going to be able to help you out. And so it doesn't just make sense to be nice to your professors, be nice to your RAs. Those are the people who you have to. Like, those are people who you need to in order to succeed in college. But you don't necessarily need to be kind to all the custodians and janitors and cafeteria workers and all those people. But it's really nice. It's really nice when you can form a genuine connection with them. Because they really appreciate it. Their work, we know that their jobs are not the best jobs in the world. They're not the most glamorous. They don't get all this, recognition and everything. And you're going to school to get a job that probably does not relate to what they're doing. But if you were able to connect with them and be nice to them, who knows? You might even be able to make a nice friend, or even more, like a genuine connection with someone. So I definitely would. Number one, I put it at number 2 on my list, but it's definitely was getting consideration for being the number one most important thing. When in college, is just to be kind to all those people who just do the little things, like the landscaping, the mailroom, like all of those people. Just be kind to them and treat them with respect. So the number one thing I learned in college as a recent college graduate is to find a group of people who let you be yourself. Early on in college, we're all stressed. We all want to, try to make an impression on people. We all want to make friends early. We all really want to impress other people. It's something that is human nature. It's something that's bound to happen. But a lot of us, in doing that, we stray away from being ourselves. Me personally, I was very out. I was very open. I'm not a very out and expressive person. If people get to know me, I am a little bit more, but I was more expressive than I wanted to be, and I could feel myself getting away from, who I was truly as a person. I'm like, I'm not this person. I'm not this loud, expressive, outgoing person. Like I'm just not, and not everyone is going to be like that. But as we get older and as we, grow in our next few years of college, you begin to see, who the more genuine people are going to be in your life. But if you could figure that out early on, you might be able to see them earlier, and that way you might be able to enjoy your college experience for even longer. Because I know a lot of people who met people early on and they were really close, but they just weren't being their true selves. Then they had a falling out, and then 4 years later, you guys are graduating and you barely even talk. You barely even have a relationship. So, at the end of the day, find your group of people. I was so very blessed to find such an amazing group of people early on in my college experience who allowed me to be myself, allowed me to feel comfortable with being myself. And those are people who I'm probably going to be friends with for the next, 20, 30, 40, 50, however many years I live. Those are people who I'm going to be in constant communication with. Those are people who I'm always going to stay in touch with. And I'm super grateful for them. They know who they are. And shout out to them. If you don't exactly know who you are right now, say you're a high school senior, you don't know who you are right now, you're going to find yourself in college. There are many situations and moments of adversity that are going to teach you things about yourself. They're going to teach you about your grit. They're going to teach you about your intelligence. They're going to teach you about your passions and who you have love for. And there are so many great experiences that come with going to college and getting that degree, getting that education, and learning about yourself, getting away from your parents, getting away from, your brother or sister, whoever you lived with growing up. It's something to be said for the people who go through that and who are able to graduate and who are able to, find people who they truly enjoy and friends for life, and who are able to gain experiences that they can use for the rest of their lives. And there's so much to be said about the college experience. I was super grateful for my own college experience. A special shout out to both of my parents who made it possible. Without them, none of that would be possible. Special shout out to my Lord and Savior for also making that possible. I know I don't talk a whole lot about religion on this podcast, but I definitely think without God, without being able to understand the love that my Lord and Savior, and keep in mind, I'm not trying to force my religion on you. I never want to do that. I never want to make people feel uncomfortable, but me being a strong Christian man, I found my love for God to be strengthened. And granted, I did not go to church as much while I was in college, but I definitely saw different situations where I could rely on Him, rely on Jesus to give me the strength to power through, to persevere, to understand, I'm loved. I have people on my side. It's going to get better. And that's the number one thing that I took from my college experience is I learned that I learned who my true self was. I learned so much about how strong I was and how amazing I was, and that's something that I will never take for granted, and I will always be truly grateful for everyone who did what they could to make my college experience the best. I'm looking forward for what the future holds, and I just also want to give another special shout out to the class of 2021. We did it. 1 year and 1/4 of the year, we went through the coronavirus pandemic. We're still going through it, but we made it through, all the silly rules, obviously seriousness of the virus and people who are getting sick, people who unfortunately lost their lives. Like we went through all that. We made it. We did it. We're here. So take the time to enjoy yourself, celebrate your accomplishments, and understand, it's only going to be up from here. Just be optimistic, never lose faith, and God bless. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Echols Unlimited podcast.